This is the HX Collective Work Channel, where we explore how our relationship with work shapes our growth and flourishing. Join me and my guest, Gretchen Miller Busch, as she recounts her connection with workplace situations and the impact of these situations on her human experience. The HX Collective explores the human experience through three main channels of life: work, relationships, and self. With raw, authentic conversations, the podcast investigates how challenges can become powerful teachers, leading to personal growth and deeper connections. Rooted in humanity-centered design, each episode reflects a commitment to doing good and doing well, featuring diverse voices and generational perspectives. Expect gripping stories of struggle and success, with thought-provoking discussions and concrete tools and tactics that encourage you to rethink your relationship with distress, helping you to establish your full human experience. This is the HX Collective Channel. Hello, my good friend, Gretchen Miller Busch. What an exciting opportunity for us to unite in our common passion to elevate human flourishing. As an ally of the HX Collective, I can't wait to have this conversation. And before we get started, would you take a minute to introduce yourself to our audience?
Thank you, Deb. Now, first of all, you know that you're my favorite person always to talk to. So this is truly a pleasure and an honor. So thank you. I am a lawyer. I'm based in Denver, Colorado, and I've been with the same law firm, Fakery, Drinker, Biddle, and Reith, for the past 25 years of my career. I've been a member of leadership, and presently I'm a member of the management board of the firm. I'm really lucky because I get to work every day with people that I not only like and respect, but some of my very best friends in the world. I am also a mom and wife to two kiddos. My daughter, Molly, turns 20 years old today, and my son, Logan, turns 23 tomorrow. And they're both in college. And my husband, Rob, and I met in law school on our very first day, our first year. We've been married for, I think, 26 years and a little change. And he is my best friend. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I love that you gave us that context, because so often when you talk about the subject of, professional women uniting, but there's so much richness in the journey that you've been experiencing, moving through the stages of children, moving into adulthood, and then being married to the love of your life and your best friend. We should probably just do a whole podcast around that. But all that being said, the one thing that unites all of the allies of the HX Collective is our commitment to the mission. And that mission is to elevate human flourishing. And on many levels, the subject matter of human flourishing can feel a little euphemistic, right? It can feel like, it could be a little woo-woo. So let's define it. When we think about the subject matter of the human experience or human flourishing, like, why do you think now is such an important time to be talking about this?
Wow, that's such a great question. When I think of human flourishing, and when you and I first started talking about what you were launching, I thought about, I guess in some ways, I would call it kind of the fallacy that our generation, Gen X, especially women in Gen X, got fed, which is the idea that we can have it all. But truly, to me, human flourishing actually is having it all. It's being able to integrate a successful and demanding career, being able to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve within your professional life, but also feel like you are giving what you need to and want to give to other areas of your life, whether it's self-care, family, children, if you choose to have children, a partner, whatever it may be, but not at the cost of yourself. And that is truly human flourishing. So when you can bring all that together and feel like you are a whole person, that you are doing what you want to do in a true and authentic and honest and, fulfilling way, that's flourishing.
Yeah. I am so glad you talked about that sense of whole life integration, because you're right. Women of our age and being in Gen X, I do think, the buying into the myth that there's something called balance, which I think is just a crock. I mean, if you think about, the balance, I mean, who wants to just be in, in sort of equilibrium? I mean, I guess on some days it would be kind of nice just to have, just things to feel steady. But the reality is, in any aspect of your life, you're going to have the highs and the peaks, and there are trade-offs. When you think about the subject of human flourishing and this sort of myth of work-life balance, with a focus more on work-life integration, what would you have to say to somebody who thinks that balance is the answer?
Yeah, but if you can do it, more power to you. But I feel like that to a large degree, the cosmos and the world and whatever is going on in your professional and your personal lives is going to dictate where the balance lies. And the balance isn't necessarily 50-50. Balance is just figuring out how to keep all the balls in the air at any given time. And sometimes you're gonna be dealing with aging parents or family members that are in crisis or kids that have more needs that at one time than they do at another time. And sometimes you're going to be dealing with work stuff where you just have to give your all to work. And you're, you know, if things are going well, you've got a community and a support system around you, whether that be a partner or friends or family or what have you, that helps you pick up where where you need to slack off to some degree. When my kiddos were little, people used to ask, how do you do it all? And I would respond very flippantly, half-assed. I do it all half-assed. But the reality is that, we, especially as women in this world, we do what we need to do when we need to do it. And so balance is really just getting done what you need to get done and then moving on to fight whatever the next battle is.
It reminds me so much of this adage where, don't let, perfect be the enemy of good or good enough. I don't feel like we'll celebrate half-assed enough. I mean, like sometimes just keeping the balls in the air is the victory. And we've got to learn, I think, to be more gentle with how we talk about that with ourselves.
Right. Totally. Totally. Yeah. And I look back on those days and I joke about the half-assed. And I do realize that at the time I felt like I was doing everything poorly, that I wasn't giving as much as I needed to in my professional life. I wasn't giving as much as I needed to in my kids' life because maybe I was buying the bake sale stuff rather than making it at midnight or whatever it might be. But in reality, I was doing what I needed to do. And I would venture to guess that I don't think the people who were experiencing what I was giving at that time saw it as half-assed. It was only my own insecurities and my own doubts that was making me think I was doing it that way.
I love it. Well, it's a great segue. All right. So, what a great way to set the condition. And thinking about human flourishing is the integration. It's that whole life mindset that allows us to really think about the various aspects of our life that are critical and important to us, but doing it in a way that we have to recognize it's not an equilibrium. Work is one of the most important ones is that we talk about at the HX Collective. And I really want to talk about, well, certainly I have a front row seat to a lot of the things that you're doing inside of the workplace, but as you think about human flourishing, as you think about the human experience inside the context of work, particularly when work is all about the human beings, why do you think now is a time for the workplace to really be embracing and prioritizing the elevation of the human experience?
Oh, that's such a great question. So I've given a lot of thought to this. And from my own perspective, being in a really demanding job, incredibly competitive industry, and I think this applies to lawyers, but anyone who's really in what I call a big job, it's a really unique experience. And as we've talked about, for me, the secret is that it requires a lot of blending, which is blurring the lines between work and personal. And this gets back to what we were talking about a little while ago with work-life balance. And the reality is that in my profession, I think in a lot of big jobs, we don't have the luxury anymore of truly being at work and only at work, or at home and only at home. Our professions and our jobs and our careers afford us a ton of flexibility. But the trade-off for that is we're never truly away from work and we're never truly away from home, whether that's physical or metaphorical. And that takes a lot of bravery. And which means that, you're blurring the line between the personal and the professional. You're maybe sharing more about your personal life with your colleagues and your clients and your customers than was the norm, like even 20 or 30 years ago, when there were very stark lines between work and home. But I think the trade-off to that is that you have the opportunity to have such a more rich professional life. Not only are you expected and you do perform at higher levels, but you do so by fostering these truly human connections. So the people that you're working with, they understand not just who you are as a professional, but they understand who you are as a person. They understand and they are in turn able to share what's going on in their home life so that we're all helping each other figure all this out. And I think that is incredibly, incredibly important and something that is essential to bring to the next generation, where, being a kind of a nameless, faceless service provider and just doing the job is not enough anymore. And it's not going to be fulfilling. And it's also not going to allow you to achieve success at the highest levels.
All right. So our audience is hearing this first. I love this idea of work-life blending. That is a really great term of art because you're right. I think that sort of demarcation point, but actually robs people of a more fulfilling way to have more meaning and more purpose in the context of the work, right? I mean, if you understand, this isn't just about achieving a revenue or a profitability outcome, but it's in the context of being a part of something that's bigger than yourself. I think there's so much research and statistics would say that there's a lot more fulfillment, a lot more engagement that comes when people feel like they're a part of something. One of your primary superpowers among many is that you have this amazing through line of love and connection. And that is not only true in work, it's really true in every aspect of your life. But because we're having the work human experience kind of conversation, talk to us a little bit about how you are seeing this prioritization of human flourishing or the human experience come to life through some of the activities that you're engaging that are all about connection.
Absolutely. And this is my favorite topic to talk about. So it probably comes as absolutely no surprise that lawyers are generally considered to be technicians and not the most touchy-feely of a profession. But we really shocker. But when you look at lawyers who have achieved the highest levels in their profession, certainly some of them are because they are the most skilled technicians, and clients come to them for highly complex technical work product. But if you move the lens out a little bit and you look at what success means in our profession today, to a very large degree, success depends on the cultivation of strong connections and human connections with both your colleagues who are relying on you to help serve their clients, but also your clients who are going to be calling you in a lot of times their darkest hour. And the level of trust and authentic connection that requires to create not only a solid client relationship, but true client loyalty lies in that space where you go from being their lawyer to their friend and the person with whom they can truly connect. And they know when the chips are down that they need to call you because you've got their back. Yes, are you going to launch into and provide legal services of the highest caliber? Absolutely. But before you even get the opportunity to do that, you have to find ways to connect with clients and prospective clients and colleagues so that when they know they need someone, you're the person that they feel comfortable calling.
Yeah. Makes so much sense. The term trusted advisor gets thrown around a lot. And really, I think at the highest calling, what comes beyond trusted advisor really is friendship. And I know that it's easy sometimes for people to say, well, that's soft, that's squishy, give us the hard stuff. We need the economics. And particularly in professional services, I mean, we're talking about it in law, but I would say any professional services firm where the billable hour or the human being is the vehicle for revenue, it just seems to reason that the human experience has to be intertwined with the economics. What would you say to the naysayers, or what would you say to people who say, well, oh, that's all touchy-feely, pat you on the head, Gretchen. That's not where like revenue and sales and profitability are gonna come from. What would you say to really upend that myth?
Well, I would say that I think they're wrong, that they're welcome to disagree, but I think they're wrong because at the end of the day, our profession and legal services and professional services all begin and end with human connection. That there is no work without that call. And it's getting that call and getting that ask is always the first step before you deliver the service.
Well,
Okay, I don't love to answer.
I think it's so, I mean, it's so common sense, but yet not a common practice, because I do think we lose sight of the fact that it does require that first call. I mean, the human connection is the spark. Who do I most trust when I have the biggest opportunity, or the chips are down, or when I'm exposed, it's in that space that, it's going to be that relationship and that most trusted advisor that's going to get the call. One of the other things, though, that I think plays into this, and you mentioned it earlier, but I want you to say a little bit more about it. I don't know that there's enough attention that is in professional services that is based on that colleague to colleague sense of connection. And I love that you love to push the edge in the envelope and are leading the way, really, in the legal profession by orienting and organizing programming that is really first and foremost around human flourishing. If somebody were listening right now and wanted to kind of tap into some of your innovation and wisdom, share with us a little bit about what you're doing to really change the game, to really make that colleague to colleague a central part of the revenue model, that colleague to colleague a central part of the loyalty model. Could you say a bit about that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So a couple years ago, since I've been in management and leadership within the firm, I have kind of a bird's eye view as to what the different inflection points within our organization are. And I've seen that one of the hardest transitions to make is when you go from an associate attorney to a young partner. And our organization happens to be very large. We're spread across about 22 offices in the US and abroad. And the reality is that when you're with an organization that is that big, it's hard to form connections. And especially when you're spread out geographically and in today's world of hybrid work, which I love and is phenomenal and I hope never goes away, but it makes it harder to create authentic connections among colleagues. And so I looked at that and I said, where is there an opportunity not only to lean into helping these young partners create what I call a rich professional life, but also help reduce attrition and allow them to form these connections so they find their people. They have those connections where when the chips are down or they're having a rough day or there's an opportunity with one of their clients, they know who to call. They have their own set of trusted advisors with whom they can call. And I think it's a really fun project. So anyway, I went to the firm. I proposed that we create a pilot program called Fake Redrinker Together. We have 13 in our initial cohort, and it is a year-long program focused on building connection and community amongst the cohort. It's a cross-office, cross-practice group of folks who've been partner from anywhere between 2 and 5 years within the firm. And our programming is almost exclusively dedicated to bringing those people together in person to share experiences as a way to really fast track the building of connections and of personal connections. Let people get to know one another on a human level. And it's been absolutely amazing to see how after we've only gotten together as a group once, and that was in the fall in California. We spent about 48 hours together. We had various fun experiences, and then we had content where we got to know one another and just had a lot of unstructured talk time. And since then, the amount of cross-pollination where these folks are going to others in the cohort to capitalize on business development opportunities, connecting one another with their trusted clients to pursue new work, it is incredible. And it's all about those connections made. And we did silly things like we did goat yoga,
Yes,
possibly the most hilarious thing. We went out and did archery, we did kayaking, and I guarantee that there's probably folks who would look at that and go, "Why are you wasting time and resources on that?" And I look at it and I've got testimonials from absolutely everyone who participated, and they said it was probably the best 2 days they've ever had within the firm because they got to know colleagues, they made authentic connections, and they came away feeling so much more connected with the organization and with their own prospects of success. It was the most gratifying thing. So I'm super excited about it forward.
I love it. So before we transition the conversation with relationships, I really want to summarize this for the audience. What may seem on the surface as something that would be extraneous, extra, fun only kind of thing. Friends, the data supports why you would want to do this. And the idea that you can be strategic in identifying people with the priority of the human experience first, the business pieces come from that. And Gretchen, I'm so excited and so proud of you for having the courage to kind of step out on the edge, because it was an edge, and at the same time to see the evidence support those favorable outcomes. Thanks for being here. If today's conversation sparked something in you, we hope you'll carry it forward with curiosity, compassion, and courage. Subscribe to the show, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who needs it. Until next time, keep exploring what it means to be fully human.